Brandi Glanville.
Hello.
Welcome to Money Rehab.
Oh, I mean, I needed to be here for quite some time.
And rocking the red lip. Thank you for that.
Yes. Midday red lip. I was just feeling it.
And what kind of money rehab would you need?
Well, I think it's interesting because coming out of a divorce at 36, I didn't have any credit at all. I mean, it wasn't bad. I just didn't have any. And since then, I've obviously made some money because I do work a lot, but it's very hard to figure out where to put it. And I haven't been that lucky. Let's just say that. And I don't think people realize how expensive it is to live in Los Angeles. And everyone just assumes you're rich because you're on TV. But I haven't gotten to that level where I'm not worried yet.
I don't know if anyone ever gets to that level. I certainly don't think I will, no matter what. I think we all have financial traumas too.
Yes.
Did you grow up with money?
No, my parents were very lower middle class. We all had jobs since we were 12. So our work ethic, my brother and sister and I, we've always worked.
Amen, sister.
Yeah.
I think that anyone who doesn't grow up with money necessarily will always feel some of that uncertainty.
Yes.
So I don't think you ever necessarily get there. When you started making money, you're alluding to being on Housewives.
Yes. It wasn't a lot in the beginning, but it was enough, to pay the bills. And I was doing, staged paparazzi things for, money here and there. And I really didn't have any, I'd never saved money before. I had modeled, and basically what I made, I spent. And then I met my ex-husband, and I had a credit card with my name on it. And I put everything on that credit card, and I trusted him. I was madly in love. And I never questioned anything. And I signed everything that was put in front of me. And I think that happens to a lot of trusting wives and partners. And I came out of the divorce with nothing.
Unfortunately, that's the case for a lot of women. And I think that's actually the impetus when women want to get their financial lives together, because they have to. You don't have another choice. Your husband dies.
Swim.
Yeah, they get a divorce. What kind of papers did you sign?
I wish I knew. No, I signed my name off of our house right before he filed for divorce, like 6 months prior. It was like Christmas. He's like putting all these things in front of me, and I trusted him. And I think that happens like in the Teresa Giudice situation, and a lot of these things that we're seeing play out in the media. I think a lot of times women can be naive because we have love goggles on and trust goggles on. Not that we're stupid by any means, but we're fooled by love.
We sure are.
I wish somebody would have shook me.
Yeah, that's a big reason I wrote Miss Independent, is because a lot of women unfortunately stay in abusive relationships or bad situations because they don't think that they can afford to take care of themselves.
Well, they can't. I mean, if they look at the numbers, they can't really, and I think that we watch shows like The Bachelor, and a lot of these naive young girls come on and they're like, oh, I want the picket fence and the husband to take care of me. And all I think is when I watch that, oh my God, you're going to get a divorce and have no credit.
Yeah. I mean, oftentimes like either your credit is screwed or you don't have credit.
Right.
Like, because the ex screws up the credit and it becomes a whole disaster. Did you have a prenup?
We did not. So I thought it was going to be great for me not to have a prenup. Unfortunately, when I didn't know about our finances, and we were pretty much mortgaged to,
Yeah. Extreme.
So there was nothing to even get, which of course I didn't know. And I thought, everyone's like, you're so lucky. I'm like, what? So I'm going to get part of his debt? Great.
You unfortunately get debt too.
You can, yes.
Did you take on any of that?
We did not. We had an apartment building I didn't even know about that we sold, and it covered the divorce expenses and lots of secrets.
Tell me more about those secrets. Did you find out through the divorce proceedings?
Yes. So I hired a forensic accountant, which was very expensive because I really thought there was a lot of money. I did. I'm like, he's hiding it. We live this lifestyle. We have this house. We have these cars. I'm driving my Range Rover everywhere and like living the life. Like, there's no way we don't have any money. And, $12,000 later, we don't have any money, and I still have to pay the forensic accountant. So
So you found, it sounds like, more secrets of debt
Yes.
that you didn't know about. So you got child support or alimony or both, or?
I got alimony for 4 years because we were married for 8. And it sucked actually because it was, if he was working, I would get it based on what he was making. And for a lot of the 4 years, he wasn't working. So I wouldn't get anything for my alimony. Child support was different. It was always varying, never great. And even now when he told me he was taking, cutting it in half, I was like, all right, I got this. But it's also just kind of like, ladies out there, no, they will not take care of you forever. Even if you're the mother of their children, you have to take care of yourself.
He can just unilaterally decide to cut it in half, or doesn't that go through the courts?
Well, it's after 18, he's no longer considered a child. And I am not paying for any more expensive lawyers. That's another thing. Like lawyers, if you can work it out without them, I say try, because all the money we did have went to our lawyers.
Right. I was going to say, like, you got a forensic accountant and all that stuff, and there was no money. But then how was there money to even pay alimony or child support?
Well, we sold our house, and I guess there was a little bit of like $200,000 that covered our divorce. And then he got a job, and it was great, but then he got fired. And for him, it was okay because he was living with someone who was very wealthy. And for me, everyone's like, aren't you happy he lost his job? I'm like, no, you guys don't understand. It affects my life. I want him to work constantly and get great money. And I was never rooting against him because I knew it would hurt us. But a lot of my friends were actually more mad than I was about the whole thing. So it would just, fluctuate. And it is.
So a percentage of it, or like what kind of percent?
What do you mean?
A percent of what he made?
Yeah. So my child support was and alimony was based on what he was making at the time. So if he's making nothing and not working, I'm getting nothing. So if he's making $80,000 an episode, it's going to be pretty good. But unfortunately, he was fired. And I mean, he blames me for it because of a public divorce and me not shutting up. But I don't see how that could be possible.
But it's not 50% of what he's making.
No, if we had been married for 10 years.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very confusing. And each state is different.
Yeah.
So it's very confusing. Girls, look up your law. Like California is a no-fault state. So it doesn't matter what he did. If he cheated, if he did horrible things, doesn't matter. You split it down the middle. But each state is different. And I'm not going to pretend to be a lawyer because I don't know what all of them are. But I know some states, if you cheat, like it's you can get more money. Not the person that's cheated on would get more money. Don't live in California.
Yes, that's a community property state.
Yes.
We had Rebecca Minkoff on the show, who I absolutely loved. She
Yes.
had a floozy clause with her husband. She spelled out that if she dies and her husband remarries, the money from her estate can't go to the new wife or any kids that he has with the future floozy wife.
Oh, all right.
What do you think of that?
She's angry from the grave. Wonder what she's like for real. Like I know I've heard she's lovely, but yeah, I mean, I think that's a little aggressive. I do feel like it is not fair. This is some things that are not fair. Like if my ex-husband's living this life, right, his lifestyle, and I said this to him the other day. He is living in a mansion, in Hidden Hills where the Kardashians live, and they have all these cars, and they travel first class. And, he's calling me saying, times are tough, like, gonna have to cut the child support. I'm like, what are you fucking talking about? Like, you live the life. Are you insane? And I do feel like it should be more of if he's remarried, and it should be their double income. It should be what his lifestyle is. That what are they making per month, or to take away to see what I should get, because I feel like it's just not fair that he's living this great life and not having to work, so I get nothing, and it's almost like a fuck you. And I don't know if that's I don't know if anyone would agree with me, but I feel like it should be, we should be living in a similar lifestyle to what we had, or for those 4 years, or at least what he's living now.
So you feel screwed.
Oh, yeah. But I also feel like, fuck him because I make my own money now, which I couldn't say that for a long time. And now I'm like, oh, really? Okay, got this. I'm good.
Because I think it gives you more confidence.
It does, but I don't
Making
want him
your
to
own
know I'm making money.
Okay, so
no, it's okay.
We'll block him
No,
from
it's
listening to
fine.
this somehow.
No, no. I mean, obviously, he knows I'm making money because he knows where I live. He knows what I pay for my rent, and he knows like he gives me is like gas money. So he knows there's money there, and that we have a nice lifestyle, but not like his at all. And I still worry, all of our bills went to another address. So even if I wanted to, and at a point I wanted to check his phone bill, I couldn't. And for some reason, I was okay with it. I just was madly, blindly in love.
Do you feel like that's financial infidelity?
Yes, absolutely. It's wrong on so many levels. And it's almost like it's preconceived. Like they know that at a point they may be getting out and they're protecting themselves. And that to me, that's worse than a prenup. Honestly, like I would rather have a prenup and know what I get at the end of it than having someone always planning for when it's over. That hurts. And then, when I left the situation, I had to ask my dad to co-sign on a car for me at 36 years old. I was so embarrassed. I couldn't even lease a house without my parents co-signing. And it was horrible and embarrassing. And at that moment, I'm like, I am working on my credit. Like I went and saw like a credit counselor and like I started doing everything I was supposed to do to get my credit better. And right now I have great credit, but
Great.
It's still very expensive to live here.
Yeah.
And it's still a struggle.
Would you get married again?
No.
Seriously?
No.
Like, period, end of story.
Yeah, no. Only because it was so hard to get out of the marriage that it was like the worst few years of my life, and it stole my soul in a way. I was so angry all of the time and not living to my fullest potential. And so I would love to love again, and I kind of do a little bit right now.
Ooh, do you have a boyfriend?
And maybe it's something.
A situationship?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's nice to know that I'm not dead inside and that I can actually have feelings for someone. And I wouldn't mind cohabitating. I am used to my own space at this point, though.
Yeah.
But I don't see the reason. I think marriage is a little bit antiquated, the idea of it.
Would you tell other women to get a prenup or a postnup? Do you advocate for this?
I do. I mean, I know a lot of women that have. They were upset about it, and I told them my story. I said, "Listen, I didn't have one, and everyone thought I was going to be great, and I left with nothing, no credit, no money. Like we were living out of my Range Rover, the back of my car, for like couch surfing on my friends' couches, me and 2 little babies. It was. I can't even tell you. I'll cry about it if I think about it, but." What was the question? I'm like thinking, what was the question again?
How long did you live out of your car?
It was a few months because, I didn't have credit. We had to find a place near their school. And Eddie and I were fighting. He didn't care. It was more about the fight. Divorce brings out the worst in everyone. Like the person you love the most can treat you worse than your worst enemy. And then you feel that way on top of it. It's just, I would never want to go through that again. So like, I can be in love and live with you. And then when it's over, bye.
Yeah. How did that even work? Were the kids in middle school at that point?
Oh no, I had a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old. And so Jakey was in diapers and it was just, he had moved in with the person he was cheating with, sold the house. And I was just trying to figure it out. And it was almost like, do you care about you're punishing me, but you're actually punishing your children.
So how did Housewives happen?
So my divorce was extremely public and I would not shut up. I was like, if they called me, if like Us Weekly called me, I'd be like, yeah, I have a comment, because I was mad. And the producers of Housewives saw me always commenting and always having something to say. And it was going back and forth in the media, and I wasn't shutting up about it. I wasn't going to sweep it under the rug and be embarrassed. And Eddie knew that. He knew who he married. I'm very feisty. So they saw that and they reached out to me, and I'm like, yeah, whatever you want. It was honestly like I felt God was just like he was saving me in that moment because I really, I didn't have an education. I didn't go to college. I modeled after high school for 6 years. And, when you don't have a skill set and no credit and you're trying to find a place to live, it's hard.
And when Housewives started, you were just a guest star? Or
I was like a friend of
Okay.
how they do, they have like these friend ofs. They had interviewed me and done all of these things. They saw my house and they were like, oh, because they do. They come and they want to see your lifestyle. And then they started shooting. And then one day I got a call. I had broken my leg. And I was, stressed to the max, still going through the divorce process because it was a long process. And they're like, do you want to come to a party? I was like, absolutely. I didn't tell them I broke my leg because I was afraid they would be like, oh, no, it's fine. Because I just didn't know. So I put on my wedge and my crutches and my little dress and I'm like, let's do this.
And then what happened?
Then they were like, we love you. I feel like I worked more than anyone that season, my first season. And it was hard. I was like, this is terrible. I cried a lot. I felt like Mean Girls in high school a little bit. And then I started, they called me back for the next season. They gave me way more pay and like substantial pay where you can, not have to worry about doing setup shots with paparazzi and all of that. And then so it begins. I mean, I've done 14 reality shows altogether. I have one coming out in January. I'm shooting another one at the end of January.
Damn, girl.
I just feel very blessed.
So you were on Howard Stern, I think, and said that you made $16,000 when you were starting as the friend of?
I don't remember.
Okay. The internet told us
I got
this.
very much in trouble for that interview because,
okay.
Yeah, I think it was 14, but it was one of those two. You know what I mean?
But not as much as people would think.
Oh, gosh, no. But the platform itself, then people are reaching out to you and saying, hey, you want to do an interview for, so much money or do this. So it did give me other options. But the second season, they're like, okay, we're the first time we're bumping any friend up to a actual housewife. And it was substantial for me. I would say, I'm not going to say what it was because you probably already saw Howard Stern. But for me, I was like, I can breathe.
Why did you get in trouble for this interview?
Well, we're not really allowed to say what we make.
Okay, so it was reported, allegedly, it was $136,000. Allegedly. But I think for some people, they think that it's, in the millions.
It can be. Don't get me wrong.
It depends on the person?
Depends on how long you're on.
Okay.
And how much you bring to the table. So.
And does it work like the paparazzi shots where you go to a party or something and you get paid for that episode?
No. Well, it's different now. I can't really it used to be you have your salary and then girls would stop showing up because they're like, I'm not going to that party. I don't want to go. But if you don't show up, you shouldn't get paid. But we're on salary. So now a lot of the production companies, I can't speak for all of them, but it's pay for play. So you have to show up to make your salary. Otherwise, they deduct, like if you don't come to a party or you're going on vacation, you don't make your shoots. And I think that's really good because a lot of people were like, I'm just not going to that. And I was like, well, you have to. It's your job.
Right. No, a lot of people that get big book advances too. If they get like $1 million for their book advance, they're like, whatever, I don't want to promote it. I'm never going to make it back.
$4 later. It's a beautiful home.
Thank you. Why did you leave Housewives?
I was fired.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I left because they said get out.
Why were you fired?
Well, I was having a really rough go of, a lot of it had to do with social media. I was very depressed and I was really obsessed with social media at the time. Twitter was kind of new and I was on it every day. Every single thing affected me. Every mean comment affected me. I was super depressed. I was on an antidepressant already. I was drinking too much. The show was so stressful. I mean, I wrote one time on I'm not filming today and stuck it on my door because, people don't realize how stressful it is to go in. And I had a lot of anxiety, and I was unhappy, and I was spiraling out. And I think that, everyone saw that. And I don't think anyone wants to watch that. I don't want to watch that. I want to watch some fun drunkenness, but I don't want to watch, my dad wasn't talking to me. My dog had disappeared. I was super depressed. It wasn't fun anymore. And I did tell everyone to fuck off in a giant email.
Oh,
including
there's that.
Andy. All of them.
Okay.
Which Andy and I are close friends, and I think that he appreciates that I'm not
Andy
an ass
Cohen
kisser.
from
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think he also knows at that point, I had hit rock bottom. I couldn't do it anymore. And, it's not what they leave on camera. It's a lot of the stuff that happens off camera that's also super stressful. And, I got fired.
Would you go back?
Well, I really love working with everyone, and I'm friends with all the girls. I do think there needs to be, I love the girls' trip that we just did because it was so authentic. I feel like a lot of them are turning into a little bit too dark and a little bit too, predictable.
Are you in discussions with them?
I'm always in discussions with everyone.
Okay. Why do you think a lot of the Housewives, and I have to be honest, I've literally never seen a single episode of any of the Housewives.
You and Ryan, my producer, he doesn't watch any reality TV.
I know I'm the only person on the planet.
You're not. You're good.
So you have to help me untangle what I've tried to study and read about the drama. I need a whiteboard just for that. We need to connect the dots.
We're gonna need the whole house,
right? Because there's a lot, and there's a lot of tangled webs and whatnot. But why do you think a lot of the housewives, like Erica Jane and Sonia Morgan, Jen Shah, have all had financial scandals and issues?
I can't speak. They're all so separate, but I truly believe that a lot of the people that go on the show, they want to show this lifestyle that they don't actually have. Like, you see these giant mansions and they're renting them. I'm talking more about Jen Shah right now. Then she's dressed like $12,000 a day. I know my designers, they're dripping. No one can dress like that. Where is this money coming from? But you can't buy a house. So I think they want fame so badly. They're willing to put themselves out there. And this is why they're all getting caught. I think with Erica, she honestly was one of those people like me that would sign whatever was put in front of her and didn't care what was happening as long as she had her lifestyle. I don't think she was like Jen Shah, who was in the office doing all of the things.
So with Erica, when she joined, you weren't on full time.
No.
And I guess can you help explain this? So her soon-to-be ex-husband, Tom, he's in a lot of trouble, financial, legal trouble. And recently it was said that he embezzled millions of dollars from these victims of Lion Air crash. She says she didn't know about Tom's crimes.
Right.
Can you believe her?
I do. I think she probably didn't want to know. I really feel like I know her enough to know, as long as she had her planes and her cars and things, that she didn't care where the money came from as long as it was coming in. Why ask questions? But I only know I know Erica, but I know what I read in the media and what I see on TV, just like you. I have no inside knowledge.
Totally. But you feel like what happened with you, where you just signed things when you were married and not really reading them, I guess.
Right.
Or knowing.
Thank God he wasn't a criminal, because I could be in the same situation. I think that's exactly what happened to Teresa, because she's super sweet and she was madly in love with her husband and she was signing whatever, people put in front of her.
So what is the takeaway from that for, I guess, the real housewives of America, who, probably also have papers that they sign without reading and things like that? What would you say to them?
Learn from my mistakes and, learn from what you're seeing on TV, as all of these people are actually going to jail, like the Chrisleys. I don't know if you know about that. They're a reality family. I've watched them for years. They're going to serve hard time for bank fraud.
11 years?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hard time. And they're this Christian family. I would say if you're a criminal, don't put yourself on TV. Number one.
Smart advice.
And I do feel like there's more coming on like the Salt Lake City situation because we're all asking how they all have their money. So I feel like the narcissism in them wants to be so famous that they don't realize what they're actually doing. But with, the average normal housewife, I would say, yeah, love is great. But honestly, like you have to look at every single thing you sign. You have to have your own bank account. Even if he knows about it, it doesn't have to be secret. I would say be upfront. Like this is a relationship. Relationships evolve, we evolve, and we might not evolve together. So let's make sure that, whether it's an allowance from your husband if you're not working, like staying home with kids is the hardest job in the world. So I think you should be paid for it, honestly.
So you think a lot of the financial issues and struggles, whether criminal or just, personal bankruptcy or other issues, comes from trying to keep up with this, just getting sucked into it?
To show that you're living this extravagant lifestyle that a lot of them actually can't afford. And, you're looking at, I could name them like 5 people right now that you're like, oh, your house is in foreclosure. And this, it's like, I'm not going to lie, I love Salt Lake City, but I do wonder where a lot of these people get their money. And I was just thinking, like, it's a house of cards. It's going to come crashing down. So
who do you think is next to come crashing down?
I think Whitney and her husband. Yeah. You don't watch it, but if you watch it, you'd know what I mean.
Okay.
I don't want that for them, honestly. But, there's a lot of like, so where do you get your money to have this house? No one really says what they do.
Yeah, those are the questions that go through my mind
Mine
when
too.
I look at it. So as I was reading up on Beverly Hills, what is this drama that's happening now? Can you explain it to me? Kathy doesn't want to go back. If Lisa and other people are on the show, what's going on?
Well, that happens every year. You have to understand, like Lisa Vanderpump, when I was on and we had our fight, she's like, if Brandi comes back, I'm not coming back. And Camille was like, I'm not shooting with
But that's real. That's not just for like the
No, it's
recap
real.
shows.
But
okay.
they don't listen to you. They're like, okay, then they know these women are addicted to fame to an extent and are coming back. I don't know if that's true for Kathy Hilton because she's already kind of famous and she has all the money in the world. But there's no housewife that gets asked back that says no. I promise you that. It's about they try to like say, oh, I'm not doing this and I refuse to film with Brandi. That's been said a lot. But the more you say something like that, the more the producers want to see you guys film together. Right. So you're doing yourself a disservice. And it's actually ridiculous because some of these women, they do think they run the show. And that's when I love when they get cut, when they have their heads are like exploding and they're like, bye. And it makes me happy.
We end the show with a piece of advice or a tip you can take straight to the bank. What would your one piece of money advice be to listeners today? Or how can they not make one of the same mistakes you did?
Well, I think in the beginning, credit card debt for me, because I didn't have money and I got a bunch of credit cards because that's how we were living. And that was really stupid. And the interest rates were so high. And finally I made enough I could just pay them off. And I had a credit counselor telling me, like, why did you do this? This is like, you're paying like double what you're spending just to have these credit cards.
On interest.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that was a mistake that if you can help it, don't do that.
When are we doing money rehab?
Right now. Please. I have some jobs coming up. I might need a little help with that negotiation.
Personal money rehab. I'm coming over. What are we going to work on first?
What do I do with my money that's just sitting there?
Okay, we're going to put it to work.
Yeah.
You work so hard for your money.
I do. I'm a little afraid to lose it. Like the risk factor makes me scared, but I know, you have to make risks to make money. So
because that awesome force of compound interest that screwed you with credit cards can actually be used in your favor, and you can make money by taking advantage of the force of compound interest with investing. So it's really just like using that same thing that's been used against you, but you then wield the power.
Interesting. help. Help me.